Oops. 5, 4, 3. Oh, I need my notes. Shoot. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, my name is Tucker, and today I'm going to be talking about the romance genre in books specifically, and just the general stigma that comes along with it. So, before I start talking about this, I just want to say that, number one, these are my opinions. I'm not, like, passing these off as fact. These are just my thoughts on the genre and on the stigma around the genre. Number two, I will be talking about things like body image and all things related to that, but I'm not like a licensed or qualified psychiatrist or psychologist, so I'm not claiming to be that either. And finally, everyone has different tastes, and I'm not denying that. If you're not into romance simply because it's just not your thing, that's totally fine. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. The first thing I want to talk about is the age ranges in romance. Most of the time you see adult and new adult romances because those are the most widely known types of romances, and with YA romances, those are pretty widely known, but there really aren't middle grade romances. That's not really a thing, because even though I've read middle grade novels with a little bit of romance in them, middle grade romances just aren't a thing. And then within the romance genre, there are subtypes of romances. There are romantic comedies, there are fantasy or paranormal romances, there are historical romances, contemporary romances, etc. Like, there are so many different types of romances out there. So, I just want to say before I get into the stigma of the romances, I used to be one of those people who looked at romance books and thought, ew, that's gross. And I'm kind of here today to dispel dispel those thoughts, because you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and you shouldn't judge a genre by what you hear about it or what you assume, because the romance genre goes a lot deeper than what you might think it does. I always used to think it was a trashy, dumb genre, but then I actually got into it, and it's so good. So, yeah, change is possible. If you don't like this genre right now, who knows? You might try and actually like it. So the stereotypes and stigmas around romance novels. A lot of people think romance novels are cheesy, like Hallmark movies. And that's not untrue. There are a lot of cheesy romances out there, but there are also really deep and poignant romance novels that I've read. I've read multiple romance novels that have made me tear up or cry. I've read novels that have made me laugh. Romance novels aren't necessarily cheesy. The next thing I have is romance novels are sinful or dirty, and I can't completely disagree with this one, because there are some romance novels that are steamy and smutty, and that's kind of the point of those romance novels, but they're not all that way. If you're a reader who isn't into sex scenes or smut, then there are books for you. There are clean romances, whether it be YA or adult, there are romances that are clean. Next is romances are cheap or dumb or just don't really have any value, and that is also untrue, because I've read some very deep romance novels. I recently read, I have it. I recently read this, Rocky Mountain Heat by Lori Wilde. Looking at this cover, you would probably think this is a cheap romance novel that you would buy at like a drugstore or something, and it would just be sex scenes. But this book goes so much deeper than that. It's about a guy who is trying to find love and fall in love with a woman, but he kind of is having trouble really committing to her or admitting that he loves her, because his wife died a couple years ago, and he feels like if he falls in love with this new woman, he'll be betraying his dead wife. And it covers a lot of really deep topics like grief, how that affects your mental health, and things like that. And another thing that I've seen quite frequently in the complaints around the romance genre is that it's unrealistic, or it starts unrealistic ideas about body image or the way sex works. And that's definitely a fair complaint, and that has happened in romance novels. But especially lately, romance novels are becoming a lot more... I wonder what Luna's barking at. Anywho, romance has become a lot more, like, diverse. Nowadays, there are a lot more romances with body positivity, for plus-size representation, people of color, LGBT romances. The romance genre as a whole has really branched out to all sorts of people and stories, and that's something that I'm really glad to see. And while, yes, there are definitely sex scenes that are unrealistic or might provide the wrong idea, most books nowadays, most romance novels, are branching away from that. And I think the reason romance novels get a bad rap is because some of the bigger romance novels are trashy. Think Twilight, think 50 Shades of Grey, or After. All of those novels are really not good romances at all. But unfortunately, they're very popular, and so sometimes when people think romance, their minds instantly go to those books. And those books are just not a good definition of what a good romance novel is. There are so many reasons romance is a great genre. It, like all books, it provides an escape. It gives you a heartwarming and emotional tale to kind of get away from your daily life. And I personally find that I need that quite often because life is stressful. Romance novels are also very happy and heartwarming. In this day and age, there's just so much sadness in the news, like disease, war, all of that. Sometimes it's good just to have a funny, cheesy, even romance novel to just escape into. There is, as I said, there is body positivity. A couple of the romance novels I've read recently have gone into facing women who helping women face body positivity issues. I've seen that a lot more in the romance novels, which is really exciting to see because that's something we need to address. I've seen a lot more romance novels with plus-size representation, and that's also really good. And then just reps in general, representations. As I said, I've seen plus-size representations, I've seen people of color, mental illness, chronic illness, LGBT, all of those, which is really great to see. And I'll go over some of my favorite positive representation romance novels in a minute. So, next I kind of want to talk about romance covers, because that's something I get comments on a lot, especially when I'm reading, like, I don't have it, hold on, I have it with me, hold on. Currently, I'm reading this is Bag Cowboy by Carly Bloom. I'm almost finished it, and it's really good, but it just has one of those covers, and I've gotten so many comments about this cover because it's an eye-grabbing cover, which is kind of the point. We'll go into that in a second. Please stay up, book. I don't want to tape you to the wall. Please don't fall. Okay, I think we're good. It's covered in crumbs from my backpack. There we go. Anywho, so it's covers like these that make people think, oh, the romance genre is trashy or dumb or shallow. And I'll explain why these covers are like this in a second. But, what was I saying? Oh my gosh, I completely forgot. Let me look at my notes. Oh yeah, so, I'm currently reading this, and it has one of those steamy covers. And these covers, I feel like, are being seen less and less. I'll show the newer covers in a minute. But basically, the point of these covers is to grab attention. It's to grab the eye, and it's also kind of a hint at what's to come. It kind of, I don't want to call it a warning per se, but it's just kind of very loud and clear. This is a romance novel. Don't come in if you don't want to read romance. And now, the newer covers of romance are covers like The Bride Test. These are illustrated covers, and in my opinion, I personally prefer the illustrated covers only because I'm really into symmetry and calm, peaceful covers, but that's just my opinion. But these are definitely the newer covers that I've seen lately in romance novels, and that's because the publishers are trying to draw in a different audience. They're trying to draw in the people who see books like this and think, ew. They're trying to draw those people in because most of those people will read a book with this cover and think, actually, I like this, I enjoy this genre, and they probably wouldn't have gotten into that genre if they hadn't given it a try. Basically, marketing. This is all marketing. Covers are all marketing. People say don't judge a book by its cover, but that's literally why the cover is there, so that you can judge it. That's the point of covers. Anywho, I could go on a whole tangent about book marketing and covers and how it all intertwines and the way the publishing world works, but that's for another video. Another thing that I've heard a lot is that romance novels are for women by women. This is true. Most romance authors are women, and mostly women, as far as I know, read romance books, and that's fine. But for any of the guys out there watching, you don't have to be a woman to read romance novels. I am male, and I absolutely love romance novels. I think they are definitely targeted towards women, and there's a whole blog post about how all that is worked with targeting women, and not in a bad way, that sounded bad saying that out loud, but like how they're marketed towards women, and I'll leave a link to a blog post down below that kind of goes into it a bit more, which I really enjoyed reading. But yeah, it doesn't matter what your gender or gender identity is, you can still read romance novels, because they're really for everyone. They have the same joyful effect on everyone, in my opinion. So, another thing that I saw when doing research for this video is there were a lot of articles that went into, oh, here's why romance novels are unhealthy or not good for the brain, and it was, all of them I noticed were from a little over 9 or 10 years ago, which was before this really big push or movement for proper representation and proper body image in romance books started happening. So that kind of leads back to what I said earlier, is romance novels have really taken a turn for the better, where they're more inclusive, more representative, and overall just more, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I can't think today. Let me look at my notes. What do I have written down next? I can't read my own handwriting. Oh yeah. Personally, the effect romance novels have on me, or the effect they had on me, the positive effect when I started reading romance novels in earnest, is they generally made me happier. There's just something, and not overall, because, it was a combination of things that helped me get out of my depression, but, like, romance novels really helps. They fill me with such a feeling of joy. They're so simple and yet so emotional. They just generally always put a smile on my face. I've maybe read 2 romance novels that didn't make me smile or laugh. They're never a disappointment. They also made me romantic. I went through, I don't want to call it a phase, but basically, since being little, up until maybe a year ago, I always told myself, I don't want romance, I don't want friends, I don't want anything, I'm just my own person, I'm gonna ignore people. But then I started reading romance novels, and let me just say, I'm not saying that romance novels are a cure-all, they cure social anxiety, they cure introversion, etc. I'm just saying, for me, they helped. For me, romance novels were almost like a medication. They really helped with my anxiety a lot. They actually helped with my body image a little bit. And reading romance novels made me realize that yes, I need alone time. Yes, I need that break from people, but I also crave and enjoy being with other people, and I hope one day that I'll have a partner of my own, because I realize after reading so many romance novels that this is something that I want. This is something I want to have. I want to be able to share my thoughts, feelings, emotions with another person in a romantic way. So basically, romance novels helped me pull me out of my shell, along with a bunch of other things, but romance novels helped. Let's see. Yeah, basically, TLDR, my thoughts on romance novels are, a lot of people say that they're trashy and dumb or inappropriate or dirty or just bad at representing all of that stuff. That is partly true for older romance novels nowadays. They're better. I highly recommend at least trying one romance novel. And if you're not into smut or sex, try to find one that's lighter on that stuff. Or if you are, maybe you will enjoy that. Maybe you can really get into the genre. Basically, don't say you hate something until you've given it a fair try. And also, don't judge a book by its cover. Anywho, now that the deep talk and the not philosophy, whatever. Anywho, now that that's all out of the way, I want to talk about my favorite romance publishers and my favorite romance books. So, my favorite romance publishers, I have 3. One is Avon. They're an imprint of HarperCollins. I don't really know which books I have on my shelf that are Avon, but I'm not going to look right now. Basically, they publish really good romances, especially historical fiction romances from them are always good. Next is Berkley Romance. I think I've maybe read 1 out of the 15 or 16 Berkley romances I've read in the past year. I didn't like. The rest of them I absolutely loved. Berkley has such a good track record with me. They always publish the best romances. And then finally, Forever, which is an imprint of Hachette Books. They always publish really good romances. They are so generous. They've sent me so many books. The publicist, Estelle, at Forever, she is absolutely the best. And actually, this book was sent to me by them, and I'm actually doing a buddy read on Instagram right now with a bunch of other bloggers, and it's just one of the funnest experiences I've had in a little while on the book community. Yeah, so Berkley, Forever Romance, and Avon, all great publishers. Check out the books they publish. And now, I'm going to go over some of my favorite romances, which I will attempt to find on my shelf. The Bride Test, which I already pulled up. This is one of my favorite romances. By the way, this is going to be rapid fire. I'm not going to explain synopsis or why I loved it, because that would take forever, and I'm not good at giving synopses. I'll leave the title and author of all these books in the description. The next favorite romance, Well Met. This is a Berkley romance. Oh my goodness, I read this right at the end of the year. This was the last book I read in 2019, and it was so good. I highly recommend this one. Let's see. Here's one. Ow. I just knocked something over. The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren from Gallery Books. What else? Let me look at my notes. I also hopefully will be able to find these books, because I'm not good at finding things on my shelf. It's going to... Jeez, I keep knocking my water bottle over. It's going to be here, right here, the cover of the Bromance Book Club, because I don't own a copy yet, but I freaking loved this book. It was a 2019 favorite, and it's also an all-time favorite. This is one of the best romances I've read in, ever. Let's see, what else? I know one. If I can find... Nope, it's not there. It's right here. Waiting for Tom Hanks by Kerry Winfrey from Berkley Publishing. I love this book. It has a sequel coming out, and I'm very excited. Okay, what's next on my list? The Bookish Life of Nina Hill from Berkley Romance. Again, I love Berkley Romance. Let's see. Yeah, I forgot. I got a signed book plate and a little note from the author. That was really nice. And I have a little sticker and a little bookmark. I love this book so much. Okay. Okay. Next on my list is, hold on. Can I find this? Who knows? Wait, where did I put it? Ah, here it is. Now if I can get it unstuck. Camp by Elsie Rosen. This is from Little Brown Books for Young Readers. This comes out in May. It is a gay romance, and I absolutely loved it. And now, finally, if I can, whatever, I'll put that back later. Stalking Jack the Ripper. This isn't technically a romance, but it's my all-time favorite book, and there is a romance relationship in it, and it's such a good relationship. I absolutely love it. I know there are people who say this book is awful, and there are definitely some fair points, but, try this book. It's really good. Anywho, oh, and this one as well. The Art of Losing by Lizzie Mason. I think, yeah, I got this one signed. Yeah, I met the author. Hold on. I met the author last May. She's so nice. Yeah, those are all my favorite romances, favorite romance publishers, and those are all my thoughts on romance and the genre in general. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any other thoughts or any comments on my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.